Hello out there. Welcome to Wish We Were Then. This is the show. This is the show that you just clicked on. You should know what it's about. Just kidding. We'll tell you about it. It's rude of me to open up the show so antagonistically. No, this is the general premise here is that two good friends. Well, who are those friends? Let's start there first. This is my friend Mark. Let's start off with him. How you doing, Mark?
Hello, guys. Welcome to Wish We Were Then.
Yep, that's Mark. That's him. This is me. I'm Trey. We are on the show where essentially what we're doing here is we're looking back into the past at an old-timey year. We say, what was it like to live back then? Not just what was, the movie that was of the year or what was the song of the year. What was on the radio? What was playing on TV? What were people eating? We want to put ourselves in the shoes of a person of yesteryear. Ain't that right?
Oh, yeah. This year that we are traveling so far back to is the furthest year that we've done so far.
Yeah, it is. That's true. We've been trying to figure out how far back we're even able to go, because we actually go back and visit these years through the power of friendship and curiosity. We're able to travel back, and so far we're trying to figure out exactly how far is even worth trying to go back, because it might not be that interesting at a certain point. But doing this was a lot more interesting than I thought it would be. Not to say that I thought it wouldn't be. We'll get into that, I think. Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, first, though, let's just set the scene a little bit here, okay? Because we take you back to a year in the past. A beautiful, bright, sunshiny year. A year that's full of happiness and gaiety. Yes, this truly is an all-American year. Or is it? For lurking behind the sunshine and the beautiful, fun cartoon characters selling vitamins on commercials on television, there lies a foreign enemy at the borders of our country, and they're taking over from within. Yes, not just foreign enemies, but political and civil unrest threaten the fabric of our very nation. In a year worth visiting. But be careful, for danger lurks around every corner in 1965.
Da-na-na-na.
That's right, we're going back to 1965, the farthest back we've been.
And surprisingly, I had a lot more in common with this year, considering how far back it was than I realized.
There's a very interesting this year altogether. I kind of thought, growing up in the 90s, there's so much, I've been realizing that a lot more recently. I mean, we just did 92.
Yeah.
There's so many references back then to the 60s, to the 70s, to Vietnam, to hippie culture, to all that kind of stuff that you don't really see that much of anymore, obviously, because the 60s now, this year is 60 years ago, as opposed to it being 30 years ago or, whatever. And
well, even as a kid growing up, the 60s didn't seem like that long ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, they still felt old, but I guess in the same way a kid now looks at the 90s, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, it's true.
I thought the 60s were old-timey stuff still. If I heard 60s music on the radio, it did still feel like old-school music.
In
a way.
Oldies.
Yeah.
The oldies stations.
Anything like 80s music felt, that's before I was born, but it still felt relatively, it made sense to me in a way. We'll get into the music later, too. There's a lot of this, though, it's just kind of general, the vibe of everything. There was a lot that I was familiar with and I expected to see and stuff, but there was a lot of it that I think that surprised me. One of the things about it was how much it sort of felt, I don't know, there wasn't more hiding beneath the surface than I thought there would be, in a way that there sometimes is with years where you're like, they were way more focused about like shocking technologies had come out or something like that. This sort of was like, I kind of knew everything in a weird way.
I think everything was very pop culture based in this year.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to look at because, it's sort of one of those things where there wasn't a whole bunch of things going on because everything was still so new that we are fairly familiar. If you have done any kind of looking back at the past, you're fairly familiar with like the bands who were around at this time, and like the big cultural movements and things like that. So you know, not a lot of it is like super shocking. Like, I mean, like just to get into kind of the general news stories here up top. Like, first off, the first U.S. troops arrived in Vietnam in 1965.
Yeah.
This kicked off, you know, our actual presence in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sparked a huge thing for the next, 10 years? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Like,
it was, we'll see for
lot
sure when it comes to a complete end. But I mean, you know, definitely for at least the next 10 years.
Yeah. Well, LBJ started the Great Society that year, too.
In 65?
Yeah. So it was expanding the welfare state, essentially, making the federal government larger in like aspects of stuff like that, of like the way they would welfare, giving out money to more people. So the government was not looked on fondly at this time, because there was people who had mixed feelings about welfare, but a lot of people that were not happy about Vietnam.
Yeah, both sides like totally unhappy about those things. And then like the other thing this is so, you know, echoes our time now, I feel like, in a way that the 60s has not felt so relevant as it does nowadays. Just like the, you know, all of the civil rights movement stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
And this was a lot of stuff that I kind of thought, I mean, you know, I just figured this was later, I guess, and didn't realize, like, man, all this stuff happened the same year. Was on February 1st, Martin Luther King Jr. and about 2,600 demonstrators were arrested at Selma. They were demonstrating for voter registration, against voter registration rules, you know, that were being racially used against black people. And so they were protesting against that. About 2,600 people all in all were arrested February 1st. Then 20 days later, February 21st, Malcolm X was shot and killed in New York before addressing the Organization of Afro-American Unity. That was like his organization he had started.
And it was by a rival Muslim Brotherhood or something like that, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was...
3 men were convicted.
he was shot with a shotgun in the
Yeah,
chest.
like point blank.
Yeah.
It's
gnarly.
crazy.
And then the other big...
You know what's funny? We just did 1992, and that's when Malcolm X, the movie, came out.
Oh, yeah, that's true, huh? Mm-hmm. August 11th, the 11th through the 16th, the Watts riots in L.A. 34 deaths, $40 million in property damage. They occurred when 21-year-old Marquette Fry was pulled over for a DUI. He failed the test. He was driving drunk. He resisted the officers. And then it got... Like, the scene got pretty crazy. Like, his brother saw what was happening, or he was in the car. His, like, younger brother was in the car and ran from the scene and went and told their mom. And then the mom came and, like, started arguing with the cops. And then they started to get physical. And then so Marquette started to get physical and a bunch of stuff. And then a bunch of onlookers started gathering. And then somehow rumors spread that one of the cops kicked a pregnant woman who was there.
Jeez.
And so, like, really, there's no telling how. I mean, it just kind of goes from, there's so much detail and information about what happens about, like, he's pulled over, his brother runs, goes tells the mom comes, they start arguing, they start getting in a tussle, all this stuff happens. And then eventually, there's a rumor about a pregnant woman getting kicked. So it's like, that's like, there's a lot of who knows what happens between there and then. But that kicked off a bunch of crazy riots, the worst that LA would see until 1992 when the Rodney King riots occurred.
Yeah.
So another bit of the same echoing.
Yeah, what it echoes for sure.
Yeah, and then really, you know, that was another thing that, again, you'd see again 30 years later nowadays, you know.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's like kind of just every 30 years. These things are sort of cyclical, which is, you know, a little bit of a bummer to look back and see that stuff repeats itself in that way.
People don't learn from their history, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's why we do these things, Trey.
Yeah.
Remember?
You got any other bummer news stories? Let's try to get like the big heavy ones out early.
I got
like fun stuff after this.
Palm Sunday tornado. An outbreak hit 6 Midwest cities with a total of 51 tornadoes.
Damn.
250 dead and 1,500 injured. So it was just like a crazy
How many tornadoes?
51. and
Wow.
it just wiped out 6 Midwest cities. But they'd all just kind of happened within a short time frame between each other.
Yeah, no, it's just like the Midwest is scary, man. Have you ever like spent any time out there?
Not really, no. I've only ever been like in Texas for a while, and that's not even that part
No,
of the
I mean they have
country.
some tornadoes there though, but no, like driving through Iowa, man, it's like I've been through there after like a big storm happened. I think it was after a tornado, and just to see the devastation. I mean, it's like the barns and stuff ripped open and silos just torn to pieces.
That's
you know,
crazy.
and yeah, it's just one of those things that you like drive through there and go like, you know, not to be offensive, but it's like, man, who the fuck would live here? You know, it's like it's already there's not like the best time of year is the summer or spring, I guess. You know, and
Yeah, it's like spring and like fall, like the in between seasons are the ones that you look forward to.
And I think is it fall or the late summer is like tornado time.
Oh yeah, you're
So
right.
that's dangerous.
That's crazy.
Winter is terrible, and it's like lasts forever in the Midwest. It lasts like 6 months. Like it's cold and snowy and gloomy and shitty.
I'll take fires and earthquakes.
Yeah, I guess there's that. Like that's what's up.
Everyone has their things, but
That's there are precious small amounts of places that are like no one talks about. It's like Montana or something like really nice, but it just I don't know. Like the internet service sucks. That's why no one talks about it because they can't. No one can get the
it's
word out.
extremely cold.
Somebody
That's
they're
why,
just waiting for their posts to get out. Anyway, I think speaking of cold places, Canada, they adopted a new flag.
Huh.
This is the year they adopted the red and white flag with the maple leaf in the middle of it.
What was the flag before?
You will have to take a look at this. We're going to summon the powers of Timeless Tony. Like I said before, we're just two normal boys who live in today's current time. The same day that you're listening to this, whatever day that may be. That's the day that we are recording this, of course. It's timely.
Nope.
And, so we don't know exactly what's going on. We're just like you. We live in today's day and age. We have to summon Timeless Tony to tell us what's going on in the past. What do you got, Timeless Tony? We're looking at the thing now.
We got looks like a flag, like the British flag in the corner, and then it's a red background, and then looks like a symbol of a Guinness harp and a Spanish flag. Probably just maybe like the different colonies that had colonized it, and look at maple leaves at the bottom.
Oh, yeah. Huh. It looks like somebody like made pajamas out of old flags. Take a look at this flag online, everybody. They definitely stepped it the fuck up with their new one. They have one of the best flags in the game, I will say, Canada.
Yeah,
Their current flag.
It's definitely unique because everyone
It's sick
else's
as fuck,
flag,
for sure.
besides ours, is just like a couple of stripes.
Yeah, I mean, really, ours isn't, not to be unpatriotic, ours isn't that great, honestly. It's cool because we live here. Red, white, and blue, tired-ass colors. Everybody has red, white, and blue.
The British flag is pretty cool.
Yeah, the British flag's cool. Ours is kind of just theirs, like, simplified. Ours is like a deconstructed version of theirs, which is not cool.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, red, white, and blue, we're very proud of those colors. They're on, like, 90% of the flags. That's not like, we can't be running around going, red, white, and blue. Like, these colors don't run.
Yeah,
That's
but
fine,
how many...
But
there's not that many colors for
yeah,
flags.
but if we were like purple and orange, everyone would be like, yeah, we know who that is. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, not to say they don't, but it's just like all the major places, not all, but I'm just saying, like, there's a big majority. If you're like just all showing up wearing those colors to like the big ball for all of the at the UN, it's like, oh, where's this guy from?
All
a
the
white
French.
guy with red, white, and blue? Yeah.
all the French people and English people and Americans
Australian,
all hanging out.
you know?
Yeah, that's
The
true.
Canadians were like, we got to get the blue out of here. Let's be red, and white. And people aren't gonna think we're Japanese.
Yeah, I don't know, the giant maple leaf.
We'll look. That's the only people that we look kind of like on our flags, but we'll be fine at the ball.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that. I didn't see that on there.
Yeah, that was an interesting little piece of information. Let's see. I got a couple of sports related things.
I just got one, so I guess I'll go and see if you have it. Joe Namath signed the rookie record contract with the Jets for $427,000.
A lot of money back then.
Yeah.
Very, very lots.
Yeah.
Lots. And he was playing for the, I believe he was playing for the AFL, right? Not the NFL.
I don't think so. I think he's playing for a college.
For college. I
Yeah,
thought it
yeah.
was him coming out of college.
Yeah, going out of college to play with the Jets.
Yeah, and he was playing in the AFL. The Jets were part of the AFL, not the NFL.
Oh, yeah, at the time. Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying now. Okay.
And the NFL was doing better still than the AFL, where they were trying to get off the ground.
Yeah.
And this is
And then
like,
they ended
prior
up
to
like
the,
merging.
Yeah. And they prior to the AFC existing, a lot of old weird mergers that existed
Yeah.
back in the day. But so I don't believe this was NFL times. But there were a lot of different sports were really like taking off in a weird. It seems weird to say.
Yeah.
Like
A lot of people are finally getting like off of radio and into like having TVs more often, you know?
Yeah, this is pre-Super Bowl, correct?
Yeah, I think
we just had like 59.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just had 59.
Yeah.
So this was right before the Super Bowl happened. That's crazy. So this was a time when sports, like you said, TV viewing was picking up. Yeah, this was a couple of years before the Super Bowl. It still wouldn't occur. We don't know that yet. Timeless Tony just let us know. But I don't like to know exactly too much about when new stuff happens. We'll find out later. So the NBA and the MLB were both broadcast on ABC for the first time. And then on NBC, they were broadcasting the AFL. An unprecedented $32 million deal was done by ABC for a 4-year contract with the NCAA to broadcast football games on Saturday afternoons. So they paid $32 million to broadcast a bunch of college games.
Dang.
Feels early, I think. I mean, I guess this makes so much sense. Football is sort of one of those things that, again, living in the Midwest, I went like, you see why it's so popular. Mm-hmm. Because there's just nothing to do, especially in the winter. So it's like, let's all gather around, get drunk, and watch these guys smash into each other. Right?
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
And in the 60s, there wasn't a ton of entertainment stuff still. I mean, there were movies and things, but like you said, TV was becoming so much more popular. And it's like, how do we fill programming time? Well, football games last a long time. Mm-hmm. And so it makes sense to do it. But I've always thought it's strange the amount of like importance we put on college sports. You know, like these are young kids like going to school, and like we care how their football team is, and like we'll put them on TV and make them like weird semi-celebrities. You know,
well, people even are really excited about high school football.
Yeah, I know
that's like small towns
really
and
weird.
stuff. Like,
but then you get into it and you go, why? Well, this is how
it's a part of their culture. It's
Yeah.
They all went to that school. A lot of those people don't leave those little towns.
Yeah.
So they still have like a vested interest of it. Like,
yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think of like a town that's really small compared to where we went to high school. Mm-hmm. It's obviously, everybody knows, oh, that's Johnny. He's the fucking high school quarterback. He's super cool. And like at our school, I could meet somebody for the first time and be like, oh, what do you do? And they go, oh, I play football.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't know unless I knew somebody else who knew them and they introduced them that way.
Our high school was like the size of some towns.
Yeah, and we had a pretty small one relatively for our area.
Yeah. Yep.
Just a lot of new sports on TV in this time. Also, becoming more popular, the National Skateboarding Championships Association was created and broadcast on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the first championship skateboarding event.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so this was, skateboarding was invented a few years prior, and this was kind of it taking off, becoming a big deal. A lot of growing popularity there. Wouldn't obviously maintain for forever, but had a big boom this year. Another thing that saw a lot of popularity and growth was slot cars were a big popular toy. And by the middle of 1965, about 2,000 slot car centers were open.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so they're really popular. People just go and race their little cars.
That's super cool.
Yeah, again, not a whole lot of things to do. They were still figuring it out, but culture was exploding.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it was really based on culture. It was all coming into light like after the 50s.
Yeah, people wanted to be doing stuff. They wanted something to be digesting, to talk about,
Yeah.
do all this stuff. We weren't sure what to do yet. So it was like, okay, is it skateboards? Is it slot cars?
Yeah.
So they were doing a lot of different things. They also had a couple of interesting little inventions here. The modern disposable grocery bag was patented.
Huh.
And modern, I guess this would be a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Now they're more modern. 'Cause you
Not
have to pay
so
more
modern.
for 'em, you know? Additionally, Play-Doh and Pampers were both patented.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so for the kiddos in the world.
For all the little kiddos.
Yeah, here's something to play with while you're shitting your pants.
Oh, I got a cool little fun fact. The Gateway Arch in St. Louis, Missouri was built.
Oh, wow.
It was meant to celebrate the Louisiana Purchase under Thomas Jefferson.
Little late, you guys.
Yeah. I'm sure he would have been proud of it.
Took you 100 years to celebrate. I just got a couple food-related items left, so whatever else you got other than that.
I got a good little transition into that. The Pillsbury Doughboy was aired for the first time, one of their commercials, and it says, "I'm poppin' fresh."
That was his name, actually, Poppin' Fresh. And I think it still is, technically.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just is the Pillsbury Doughboy, but his name is Poppin' Fresh. Just like the...
Thought it was like a verb, like I'm poppin' fresh. Like,
Yeah,
I
no.
didn't think he was introducing himself.
I know, it's a bad name. It's just like the bee from Honey Nut Cheerios. His name is Buzzbee.
I didn't know that.
I don't like it. It's Buzzbee. I don't know, it's bad. I watched the Pillsbury Doughboy commercial from 1965. Did you see it?
Yeah.
It was interesting. It's all claymation, and then, like, not all of it, just he's claymation. And it's a live-action woman. And then whenever they cut to, which I thought the claymation looked really good.
Yeah. It's like just a stop motion one. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
The funny thing about this commercial is the woman's hand, like when she goes to poke him on the stomach and stuff, and to dance around with them, they like do a little romantic dance between the hand and the doughboy. Her hand is clay when it's all close to it, and so
Oh, yeah.
it looked really weird.
Yeah, I would say you could definitely tell.
Yeah, it looks strange. A couple other home kitchen inventions: Pillsbury Doughboy, also Cool Whip, and SpaghettiOs came out this year.
Yeah.
And Kraft American singles were individually wrapped for the first time. So they had been coming out
Like on like already pre-cut, but still in the block.
Yeah.
So you had to like peel it back.
Yeah. And it's like I thought, oh, that seems weird. It seems like it would just like congeal again or something. But apparently they're manufactured as singles. They're not actually from a big block.
So they would stack them that way.
Yeah, they're just tricking you. I don't know why. I guess what else are you going to package them?
Because
I guess
they're probably made into sheets,
and
and then they like bake it or whatever to like. They had something
that would
like
make the most amount of sense. It was the information was presented to me in a way that made me feel like they just somehow made tiny pieces of just one cheese and then they assembled them all.
No, they cut it, so it's not like a block, but it's like probably a big.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it makes more sense for it to be big cheese sheets that are cut to size.
That's still so weird.
But yeah, they should be sold like that though, like a big just flat container full of cheese slices. Okay, and then fast food. A couple of restaurants that were founded this year: Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, TGI Fridays, and Subway.
Yeah, TGI Friday was one of the first singles bar.
Yeah, it's interesting. They were like a fern bar for women to go and not because before that women weren't really like it wasn't cool for women to be hanging around bars.
Yeah,
They were seen as sex workers or just women weren't supposed to be drinking and stuff. It's weird.
well, apparently Alan Stillman, the guy who opened it so he could meet women, like single women.
Look at him go. And now
It
TGI
worked.
Fridays
It
is
worked.
the swinging his place around.
Yeah, swing in this place when it's like singles.
That's all I got for most of that kind of fun stuff. I'm ready to move on to television.
Yeah,
You are.
let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to get into some more regimented things. Everything else up to this point has been all fun and games, but enough fucking around. Here's some actual
serious.
lists. So I've been going over in the past, I've looked at like what the top programs were on television. This time, I ran into a bit of a conundrum for the first time. So I had to do a little bit extra research and came up with yet another. There's so many weird things when you try to look back at quantified information from the past, like the lists have issues with them. Like this is the worldwide, this is the U.S., all that kind of stuff. For television, It turns out the years of when they are recording this stuff is like it's like a fiscal year, not a calendar year. I found that out because I was looking through, and it was number 1 show of the year was Bonanza.
Okay.
Number 2 was Gomer Pyle, USMC. Number 3, The Lucy Show. Number 4, Red Skelton Hour. And number 5 was Batman. And I said to myself, Batman? I didn't know Batman was out in 1965. I don't think it fucking was. So I had to do some research, and it wasn't. The years that they run these lists is from September of 65 to August of 66. Most of this list is in 66, it turns out. So then so it just calls into question the last couple episodes we did. Luckily, it's not like this has been like years of us doing this, but luckily I knew Batman wasn't out in 65 because otherwise we'd look like fools for forever.
Yeah.
In the 64 to 65 season, so September of 64 through August of 65, number 1 show was Bonanza, so we don't have any issues. Bonanza was number 1.
Still number 1.
Yeah, number 2 was Bewitched this year.
Oh, yeah.
Number 3 was Gomer Pyle. So Gomer Pyle and Bonanza both up there high. Number 4 is Andy Griffith, and number 5 was The Fugitive. So people were watching Gomer Pyle and Bonanza for sure in 1965. We know that, 100%.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So, sorry about all the confusion, but...
And it's crazy because it's like just everybody gathered around at that same time to watch the same show across the country. That just doesn't happen like that anymore.
Yeah, but Bonanza for 2 years in a row was the number 1 show, so that's cool. And then Gomer Pyle up there pretty high. Interesting that there weren't more carries over from one to the other. You know, the rest of them were all completely different. But Bonanza and Gomer Pyle were both really high up.
Solid shows.
I've never seen either, really.
Neither, right.
I might have seen a couple minutes of Bonanza skipping through channels and being like, oh, fuck, Bonanza, staying home from school. Here's another couple quick ones that came out this year. Adamant and Secret Squirrel were a couple cartoons. Also, Kimba, the White Lion, is like what?
The Lion King is based off of.
Yeah, or like kind of a rip-off of. The Dating Game, Days of Our Lives, The Dean Martin Show, Get Smart, Hogan's Heroes, I Dream of Jeannie, Lost in Space, and Green Acres all came out. A lot of solid sitcoms.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry was aired as a TV show for the first time.
But not just like shorts?
Yeah, it was like shorts for movies.
Yeah, theatrical shorts.
Yeah, in the 40s. And Charlie Brown's Christmas aired on CBS for the first. It was the first Peanut special.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't realize it was the first Peanut special. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. I knew that it aired this year. That's really dope, though. I think that's. I mean, it's a Christmas classic.
Go on to be iconic.
I think a lot of classic Christmas stuff takes place and sort of harkens back to like the 40s.
Yeah,
and. This is a lot later to be something that's like still so treasured in a way that feels so timeless and not as recent as a lot of 60s stuff does. Because like I watched some of like the Adamant and Secret Squirrel show, and they have, I mean, it's a lot of like, the faces of a lot of the people are the same ones as like from the Flintstones and the Jetsons. And so I was like, oh yeah, that took place before this. And like those feel familiar to me. So like the shows felt familiar in a way that like Charlie Brown feels so timeless,
Yeah.
Instead of feeling any kind of newness to it, I guess.
Yeah, they're still making Charlie Browns.
Yeah. I just watched the newish movie like a couple months, not
I haven't seen it
recently, but a couple months ago I watched it. The last TV thing I have here is even though he would later on turn out to be a real piece of shit, this was pretty cool, was that Bill Cosby in the show I Spy was the first black man headlining a TV show.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was cool. Good for him there. Cool. Yeah.
He did something at least.
Yeah. Doesn't make up for everything, but
no.
At least he has something nice that he did. All right. So we are all done with television. We're going to move on over to music. One of the other forms, big three in my opinion, in forms of entertainment. How far, at least as far back as we're going.
Yeah, well, definitely for this generation.
Yeah, TV was pretty big, but this is a big year for music. And a lot of very recognizable tunes. Typically, what we do here is we go back and look at what was on the Billboard Hot 100 for the year end, and we talk about the top 5. These were songs that you would have been hearing everywhere you went, presumably. And I feel like in the years that we've gone back to that we've been alive, they were in fact pretty ubiquitous.
Yeah.
So this is a good barometer for like what was going on and tells you kind of what was going to be popular moving forward and what was popular the years prior.
Yeah.
A lot of times. So let's start at number 5. You want to give us the 5th?
Yeah. You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling by the Righteous Brothers off of You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling album. Written by Barry Mann and Cynthia Well and produced by Phil Spector using the wall technique where he put all the musicians in one room and then he put dividing walls between each musician's instruments or their whatever they were using, and it like created an echo effect that was almost like surround sound.
Damn, that's crazy. I've heard of the Wall of Sound before by Phil Spector. I didn't know it was like an actual...
Yeah, it's like a recording technique that he like invented.
Damn, okay, that's crazy. I knew that basically he started with this. I saw it was like the ultimate illustration of the Wall of Sound. Was somehow some people were describing this. He layered so many things to get to the sound that he wanted, the way he kept adding things. He started with 4 acoustic guitars, then added 3 pianos, then 3 basses, added the horn sections, and then the drums. The backup vocals for this song were performed by the group The Blossoms. Don't know who they are, but the Ronettes. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
They sing Be My Baby among some other songs. And then this was really interesting. Another person in the backups was at the time unknown Cher.
Huh.
Which is surprising to me because Sonny and Cher were on the charts this year. So I guess it was just like they broke out and she
not necessarily
exploded.
Unknown maybe, but like she was expanding her.
Yeah,
I
did look it up and I think that their first singles came out this year. So
okay, yeah,
I believe, but could have been.
She was definitely in the music world then.
Yeah. I mean, she must have just been there like recording and stuff. That's This song came out in November. I don't think I have the exact date, but it came out in November of 1964. In 1999, the performing rights organization, BMI, ranked the song as the most played song on American radio and television in the 20th century, having accumulated more than 8 million airplays by 99.
Dang.
So yeah, it had been on TV and radio more than any song by 99. We were alive at the time. This didn't feel like a song that was, I mean, I knew it, but even versus some of the other songs on the top 5, I don't feel like this was something I was as familiar with.
Yeah.
So that was surprising to me when I saw it. By 2019, it was replaced by Every Breath You Take.
Oh, okay.
Which, that also doesn't feel that ubiquitous to me. It feels
prevalent,
I don't know. But
everyone knows that song, I guess.
This was I thought the last cool thing I have about this song was that it was considered way too long to be a pop song that was going to play on the radio. People were pretty, they warned Phil Spector about it a lot before he came out with it. So he printed 3:05, 3 minutes and 5 seconds printed onto the label instead of 3:45 because it was 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
So they just lied to people.
Yeah, so he tricked everybody. And then there's kind of like a little bit of a fake out ending towards the end of the song and a little bit of like a build up, just, so DJs might think it's about to end or whatever. And
maybe just cut it.
I don't know if they was thinking they would cut it or they just not pay as much attention. The last, it's about to end. It's been 3 minutes, Yeah. And there's 40 more seconds, like kind of tricking you. At any rate, worked out.
Yeah.
Number 5 song of the year. Number 4 is You Were On My Mind by We 5. This is one that I was not very familiar with leading up to this. It came out in September of 1965.
Yeah, I was pretty familiar with this song, I feel like.
You knew this one?
I feel like this is all the music my parents listened to.
Okay.
All I heard growing up was all this kind of music.
Really, it was like the rest of these songs are so, I've heard them so many times. It was surprising me that this one, I was like, I feel like I recognize this song, but it wasn't one like the rest of them are so ingrained in my mind as soon as they came on that they almost weren't even something I really felt like I needed to listen to again. But we have a playlist that I put together a playlist every week featuring the top 5 and then a bunch of other songs from the top 100 that are songs that I feel like are pretty well-known or by well-known artists. And then there's also some other stuff that either came out that year or just was popular or worth checking out. So we'll post that somewhere. You can check that out if you want to follow along with your ears and hear some other stuff. This song, though, You Were On My Mind by We5, was written by Sylvia Fricker. Thought that was a fun name. Recorded by Ian and Sylvia in 1963. That was her and her future ex-husband.
Future ex-husband.
I did listen to it, and this one back to back. The We5 version is much cooler. I really liked the sound of this one. I thought it was a cool sound.
Yeah.
More unique than the other ones.
Mm-hmm. I think I think I
that's
appreciated this one more after going back and listening to the original one.
Yeah, I guess saying it's more unique isn't exactly fair to say. I think it kind of has more of an old-timey feel in a weird way than some of the... I think this one was sort of more... had a lot of, like, artistic merit from songs from the 50s carried over to this one. Yeah. I think so often when you look at an old... an old year or whatever, what songs were popular, and what songs carry over, the more artistically sound ones... I mean, they do last, but they're not exactly what is, like, sort of representative of a year. If you have to show 1965...
this wouldn't be the song you would choose.
Yeah, probably not. And it's just, I mean, it's cool. If you have a whole movie about it, maybe the song will snake its way in there, but I have a feeling you're probably going to go for something like number 2, which we'll get into in a second. We have another one to get through. But there are songs that are more like, oh, instantly you know what year it is. You know what I mean? But again, I liked this one. This was one of the first singles to feature drums and electric guitar in a folk composition. I didn't really think this was folk, but thought it was a cool song.
That's interesting.
Number 3?
I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. Written by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. This song elevated them to the superstardom that we know of today as the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert for the rest of this chart, but as far as household names from the British invasion, which was going pretty strong at this point, they're the only ones who made it this high up on the chart.
Yeah.
They're number 3, obviously. But number 2, number 1, no Beatles on there. And then the Kinks were also pretty big at this time. Both those bands had a lot of stuff on there. Also Herman's Hermits, a lot of other things we'll get into in a minute. But the Stones were the only ones who got this high up. This was their first number 1 in the U.S. Came out June 4th of 65 in the U.S. and August 20th in the U.K. And this originally was only available on pirate radio in the U.K. because of some sexual lyrics. So this was a very controversial song when it came out because he can't get no satisfaction.
Yeah.
And, he's trying to make some girl. Like, that was something that they couldn't say. Actually, interestingly, when they did this song at the Super Bowl, like 20 years ago, it wasn't that long ago that they did it. This was the only one of the songs they did that didn't have to be censored, even though it was censored when it originally came out. And then I was like, that's interesting. Also weird that the Super Bowl would have to censor Rolling Stones songs, and not in the 60s, but in the 2000s.
Yeah.
One of them was Start Me Up. And then I don't remember what the other song even was, but Start Me Up, I was like, oh yeah, he says he can make a dead man come.
Oh yeah.
So you have to take that out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, the Rolling Stones are one, if you actually listen to their discography, there's a lot of times where a song will just say something, you're like, oh fuck. Like,
yeah.
They say some stuff in some of these songs that's like, even the Beatles, when you hear like, why don't we do it in the road, you're like, that's pretty explicit for a band that you think of as being so sunshiny.
One of the best lines from Rolling Stones is he can't be a man if he doesn't smoke the same cigarettes as me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a great line. It's like one of my favorite Rolling Stones lines.
I really like doing this song at karaoke a lot. Keith Richards apparently wrote the music for this song in his sleep. Like, he woke up half asleep in the middle of the night, and there's like a recording on an old like Philips recorder or something. 2 minutes of acoustic guitar followed by 40 minutes of snoring. So
that's crazy.
He just wrote the riff, penned it down, put it down on something to have it. This is an old year we're looking at, but it's cool that he was able to record it because like it's something that even 60 years later, it's such a like a feeling that you have so often. You're like, fuck, it was a good idea. I should have written that down.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Your brain's for creating ideas, not storing them.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're dreaming, your brain is moving it's doing so much. You're like creating and interpreting a whole world, and all these plot lines and people and experiences all are happening instantaneously in your head. So it's like being so creative. So when you wake up, it's like your brain's still moving and creating all this stuff, but also interpreting real things around you, you know?
So what Nikolai Tesla used to do is when he was working on a problem.
Donald Trump's friend?
Yeah. When he couldn't solve a problem, he would fall asleep with two like weights in his hand. And then when he fell asleep, it would wake him up, but he would be asleep in and out of sleep, and then that's how he would figure out his problems.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like the opposite of like getting yourself to lucid dream. Have you seen that? They have like headsets that they measure when your brain's. I mean, this is old as hell, so I don't even know if this is still relevant or a thing anymore. But it would measure when your brain was drifting off, or like your eyes were moving, doing rapid eye movements, something like that. But probably that one. And then it would flash a little light, like something enough that you can perceive it, because your brain still knows when there's light and things when your eyes are closed and when you're sleeping, but not enough to wake you up. And but just eventually you get trained to recognize when that light goes off that you are in a dream, and then you should be able to start lucid dreaming, which is like controlling your dream and going like, oh, I can fly now, or
Yeah, no, there's people that's still relevant, I think.
Well, yeah, lucid dreaming, but I don't know about specifically that headset, or if it's like a different thing now, or if it's like that. I mean, it's sort of one of those things that this was probably about 10 years ago. I remember reading this. Sort of seems like one of those things that if it worked really well, everybody would have it, or like all these rich people would be doing it all the time.
Maybe they do.
Maybe
they're not telling you the secrets, right?
Maybe, but it kind of feels like virtual reality, like where it's like you saw so many commercials for like the Meta Quest and all those different things, and then you just slowly start seeing less and less of it, and it sort of seems like one of those things that I think is still around, and they're making improvements to it, but it never caught on enough for them to like care enough to make it really great, you know?
Yeah, maybe somebody's still working on it.
I just feel like at this point, if people gave a shit about virtual reality, it would be amazing right now, because we have the technology and the ability to do it. I think that there just wasn't enough of a market. Oh, this is all assumptions. This has nothing to do with 1965.
Anyway.
Yeah, what the fuck? How would you get that far off?
Rolling Stones.
My fault. Oh, because he woke up. Mick Jagger viewed the Fuzzbox guitars as a placeholder for horns that he hoped to put on the song later. So the iconic riff and the da-da, that all was supposed to, he wanted there to be horns, and he and like the rest of the band and the producer kind of fought with him, and they all won out in the end and kept it as those guitars, which ended up being a pretty great choice for them.
Yeah.
I think it's still, actually hearing that, I was like, I think it would work with horns.
But it wouldn't have like resonated
the
same.
It would have been way more of its time in a way that I think it would have fit in with a lot more 60s music, but it stands out so much when you hear it.
Yeah.
And, there would, like, if it had horns, it would have just sounded like another Beatles ripoff, but those guitars really give it a lot of character.
Yeah. The bluesy rock and roll kind of.
I do, every time that we do this. So far, I've been actually fucking knocking it out of the park, but every time I try to wear a shirt that's relevant to something.
Oh, yeah.
I got a Rolling Stones shirt on today.
Nice.
I've been doing a really good job with this. I used to have way more t-shirts, so I'm just kind of like, man, I don't have anything to work. I'm like, oh, look at this one.
Stuff.
Anyway, let's move on to number 2. You want to say this one? I don't remember.
Yeah, I Can't Help Myself, or Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, by the Four Tops on their second album, which is it's what it's called, the Four Tops second album.
It's called the Four Tops second album?
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't write that down. Came out April 23rd of 65.
Written by Holland Dozer Holland.
Topped the R&B charts for 9 weeks, and became the number 1 song of the R&B charts, as well as being the number 2 song of the year. This is a cool song. This is the one I was talking about. This is something that feels extremely 60s. Whenever we look at the top 5, there's always at least one song that feels a little bit, not novelty, but in a way it's a little bit like, silly. It doesn't.
Campy.
Yeah, it's not serious.
Yeah.
Campy is a good way to look at it. This is definitely a song. It's very bubblegummy. It really feels like
Yeah.
yeah. If you're doing a flashback to the main character when when I was in the '60s and you play this, and then a couple of years go by and the Vietnam War was just starting and then a couple of years go by and you play Jefferson Airplane for the later '60s stuff.
Well, it was still the like Motown kind of esque era. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this one does have which the Four Tops are good. I like the Four Tops. And so this is one that is listening to it and actually spending time with it, which actually happens a lot with specifically 60s music, I feel like. I do feel like it's something that I've always kind of regarded in a very, like, just stereotyping it sort of way. Yeah. This song feels like, again, it's like the happy part of a montage in a movie. And when you actually sit down with it and listen to it, it's more than just being like a bubblegum pop song. It's a Motown song. Mm. And there's some artistic merit there to it. I don't want to give the song too much credit on that end of the spectrum, though, because it is essentially a ripoff. Dozier Holland also wrote a song called Where Did Our Love Go by the Supremes, and this one is kind of a ripoff of that. So they just were sort of... So somebody joked that the name of the song being I Can't Help Myself was them going like, I can't help myself dipping back into the well. Where Did Our Love Go is part of the Tainted Love mashup by Soft Cell. Where did our love go? Bum, bum, bum. And it's very similar to I Can't Help Myself. So that's it for the Four Tops. Four Tops top the charts at number 2. But number 1, this is another funny. It's funny how often this happens that you see like a real one-hit wonder that really like is encapsulating a sort of time frame here.
It like wraps up the year.
Yeah. Number 1 for 1965. This came out May the 12th. The song is Wooly Bully by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. All funny things to say in a row.
It's great.
And this is one I did like a lot of research on this song. I mean, I was going to say it's interesting, but I guess it's the nature of the show. It's always going to coincide with a different year. But I just like a week or two ago had kind of gotten into garage rock, which this falls into. So I know like a lot about garage rock suddenly at the time that this was number 1, which is crazy that this was number 1. I mean, it's like a precursor to punk rock in so many ways. Not this song by itself, but
that style of music.
Yeah, and you got like Surfin' Bird and a lot of different types and the Kinks, a lot of like, You Really Got Me and stuff like that. The guitars and like the fastness of it. This song was like banned in some places because they couldn't understand the lyrics and thought he was saying bad stuff. Here's just some general information about the song. Released as a single on the small Memphis-based label XL in 1964, and was picked up in 1965 by MGM. Really interestingly, was a reworking of the 1962 tune Hully Gully Now on the Dallas-based Gay Shell label by Big Bo and the Arrows, which in turn was based on Feelin' Good by Junior Parker. So this was a song that's been
revamped.
Yeah, a couple times. At first was Feelin' Good and then turned into Hully Gully Now. I didn't find the Big Bo and the Arrows version of Hully Gully Now, but I found the Beach Boys did a version of it. And it's very similar to Wooly Bully. Okay. It is a reworking of it. And then I never found a Feeling Good by Junior Parker. This was the first American record to sell 1 million copies during the British invasion.
Yeah.
So this was people... I mean, it's very funny that this was like our American reaction to the British invasion. Garage rock's really cool. It's worth checking out. It's very interesting stuff.
Like the Sonics, right?
Yeah, Sonics are a great example of garage rock.
Because I think they're a little more popular.
Yeah, they're great. Like Have Love Will Travel. Listen to that song if you're not familiar with it. They're super cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's really crazy when you hear that stuff. And even Wooly Bully, honestly, if you can remove yourself from it being silly and being used in funny flashback scenes, it's or at this point, I guess nobody really has any context for it. If you're younger than us, or even our age, probably you probably don't even know what the song is. But it's cool. Like, this song is very different than everything else that was on the radio. It reminds me a lot of the thing that this reminded me of specifically that we've talked about before was the Knack, My Sharona was number one. And that was sort of like punk rock was just becoming a thing, and it's very similar to garage rock. And it was like a year where it sort of seemed like, oh, this is a weird. The Knack, that was the only song they ever had that was a hit, and it kind of came out of nowhere. It sort of seemed like, oh, this people are going to care about punk, and then it sort of faded away again.
Yeah.
Garage rock, same thing. I don't think you're going to find too many years where there's
I think it's like a hype in like a certain like generational gap, and then it kind of fades once all those people get older. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You know, an interesting thing about this one is, because I was going to say, I think, you know, with the way these charts work, it's so fluid and interesting. There's not just like cut and dry. Oh, this was the number one song for the entire. They don't all get released on January 1st.
Yeah.
And then everybody gets to decide what song. They're not voting on this or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, most of the time, I mean, I guess all the time when we do this, we're actually listening to music that came out in '64. Or the year prior. You know,
sometimes
what I mean?
even earlier than that. You know, but you know, especially later on, you'll find things that are like '92 Bohemian Rhapsody was on the charts.
Came back, yeah,
because of Wayne's World.
Yeah.
So this was kind of to that point. This reached number 2 on the Hot 100, but never hit number 1 for like the weekly charts or anything like that. But it was obviously number 1 at the end of the year, which was something that had never happened before. So again, it's like it had been played a lot and for a long period of time, but never more than one other song.
Yeah.
There's something else always beat it to the top. But those didn't have the longevity. So it's like the number of plays.
Consistency. That's what matters.
So just
Not the marathon, not the sprint.
I kind of think that disproves the point of the novelty of this song being sort of something that was like, I figured it was just like, oh, for a month everyone thought Wooly Bully was funny. But it was a song that just stuck around for a while, and people were like, yeah, put that one back on.
Yeah.
You know? But it sounded so different than anything else, you know?
Yeah, it was.
And when you look at these songs, there is, you know, You've Lost That Loving Feelings, a very pop song for the time. It was a very good pop song, but it was like more pop. You Were on My Mind, Motown, a whole different feeling. Can't Get No Satisfaction was rock and roll really starting out to have a different sound. But anyway, like everything kind of had a different feeling. And this one stayed pretty high up on the charts, so it's funny that this was just a song people liked of the time. That feat, though, of being number 2 and finishing at number 1 wouldn't be repeated again until Faith Hill in the year 2000 with the song Breathe.
Yeah.
Then Lifehouse, Hanging by a Moment in 2001. And then not again for 20 more years after that till Dua Lipa's Levitating in 2021. So it's only been 4 times.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's pretty rare for that to happen. But Wooly Bully did it this year. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other stuff on the charts.
Yeah.
You want to look at some of those?
Yeah. Help by the Beatles, which you mentioned. Sonny and Cher, I Got You, Babe. The Supremes, Stop in the Name of Love. The Byrds, What's New Pussycat?
No, it's Tom Jones. What's New Pussycat?
Oh, yeah.
For Your Love by the Byrds.
Mr. Tambourine Man by the Byrds.
Yeah, the Yardbirds was rusting off. Mr. Tambourine Man's funny. I didn't really that version charted was big for them. I always think of that song as a Dylan song.
Yeah.
You know, I always think of his version of it. I mean, it's his song, but
Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan.
Yeah, he charted.
Speaking of, how many albums did the Beatles come out with? Just one?
Beatles had 2 albums this year. That was another thing I was going to say. The Stones had 3 albums, I believe. The Beatles had 2, Rubber Soul and Help. And the Kinks had 2 albums as well. So like the British Invasion, these people were like coming out with albums like crazy. And this is really the point where you see the music shifting from these bands especially doing cover songs to doing their own stuff.
Well, we keep saying the British Invasion, but like some of these or like most of these, The Who, the Zombies, the Turtles, the Kinks, most of these bands are English.
Yeah. I think the Turtles are from New York, I think, possibly. But the rest of those are all British. So so this was kind of, but again, you know, none of them topped the charts. Shea Stadium was this year. I wanted to get into a couple of Beatles things. This year, this is the year that they were, like, you know, becoming the biggest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. I mean, they pretty much were already, but It still was, like, again, they didn't have the number one song, or, like, not that that's the ultimate, metric, but just to, say. They had the movie Help as well as the album. They had Rubber Soul. They also had a cartoon that came out this year and lasted for a few years. I watched a little bit of it. It was interesting. How much it reminded me of, like, Scooby-Doo. The first episode, they're, like, in a haunted house. I watched another episode, too, but I can't really remember what it was about. And then they played at Shea Stadium on August 15th. Also the year they started taking LSD. So, I mean, that kind of shows up in their music a little bit after. It's like, if you look at Help, it's very normal music for the time. And then Rubber Soul is where it starts to get a little different. One.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I think music definitely has a huge shift this year. Here's a quick rundown of some bands that were established in 1965.
Okay.
You had, the Beatles and everything starting up and coming over, dominating the airwaves and really introducing everybody to rock and roll. So a lot of the bands that came out and became established reflected that. You had the Doors, the Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, Pink Floyd, Love, the Mamas and the Papas, the Guess Who, the Turtles, Captain Beefheart, Chocolate Watch Band, Canned Heat, Country Joe and the Fish, Cowsills, Electric Prunes, a lot of like psychedelic bands and stuff like that would come out in the next couple of years, and I think changed the music scene for a few years to come. It's so funny when I was a kid. That's if you talked about bands like this and stuff, it'd be like they changed the face of rock and roll. And now when you really look back on it, it's like rock and roll doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, these guys change music for the next 10 years. That's kind of like where you start to see things change and become different and like, the.
Well, like I said, all it takes is like it's like these couple of years that it's like revolutionary, and then it kind of like, I don't know, like I feel like that just like comes in like gaps, and it's just because of the way that people's mindsets work in that time of their lives.
Yeah, it's like,
like, I don't know.
It's like you spend 4 years in high school listening to music that's marketed to the cool age group and stuff, and you listen to it and go, oh, I'm going to be like that. And then you get into the college age group and you start making your music, and it takes a couple years, the years that you're in college or whatever, to kind of hone your craft and to get popular. And then by the time you are, now the people who were young, who were listening to you, are now growing up and becoming the next level for that. I just feel like there's like 8 years where you have a chance to like be, something popular and stuff.
All right, so now we are going to move on to the movie of the year. We've talked about this before, but moving into this generation of movies, it was coming off of a lot of plays.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of what the generation before resonated with. That's what they would go to the theater and watch and things like that. So that being said, the number one movie this year is The Sound of Music. And I learned a lot about this movie. I've watched this movie a bunch of times growing up.
Yeah, it's one you're familiar with?
Yeah.
I've seen this once before this week.
I've seen it so many times that I put it on, and then like probably 20 minutes into it, I was like, I don't need to watch this.
Yeah. Yeah, again, though, this one I think I've seen once, and it was in the last 10 years that I watched it.
But this was directed by Robert Weiss, written by George Harddack, Howard Lindsay, and Russell Crowe. It stars Julie Andrews, Christopher Plummer, and Eleanor Parker.
This was released on April 1st. Tricked your ass. It is 2 hours and 52 minutes, and an adaptation of the 1959 stage musical by Rodgers and Hammerstein, as you were mentioning.
So this was based on a true story.
Yeah, I didn't know that until
I did not
looking it up this time either.
Yeah.
I felt like foolish for not knowing that kind of.
I mean, yeah, I think I knew it was based off a play, but that's all I like.
Yeah,
that's all I assumed. But yeah,
obviously, like generally, you know that the Nazis were real, things like that.
Yeah, there's plenty of stories about real events that aren't real.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that like didn't really happen.
This was definitely one of those things that I had only seen it the one time, but it kind of isn't. It's not necessarily such a fantastical story. That it seems like it's something that's worth, like your brain wouldn't go like, oh, that's just gotta be, this really happened to somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is a weird movie, especially be number one and even to be such a popular play is I think the play was not quite as sunshiny as the movie was.
Yeah.
But
well, it had to be for, a little more for everybody.
yeah, it's just weird. Like, it's sort of like, what is the point of this? The fact that it's a real story makes it worth telling, because without it being a true story, it's like, what is the point of taking this horrible event and then not really dwelling on much of it, and it's not like they really are like using their platform to like get a bunch of Jews to safety or whatever. It's really just about this one family.
Yeah.
Like, but because they went on to do more things after this and stuff. And to the people at the time, they went, oh my God, this is how the Von Trapp family got their start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was a biopic, and that's something we see so much now. And I think now I'm like, anytime something comes out, I'm like, do we really need the whatever movie where the guy's still alive? And he can go to the movie and watch this shit. Shouldn't he be like 80 and be like, I'm so honored that they did this, But anytime it's somebody who's like 20 years old and like, I didn't say it like that. You're like, shut the fuck up. This guy's an asshole now. You can see how much of an asshole these people are, But this was 20 years later.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, these people were still alive. We're still, so this was all something that, again, people of the age were familiar with who Maria Von Trapp was. And so this was a story that they were going like, oh, shit, okay, cool, I get to see this.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. That's pretty interesting stuff. Based on her 1949 memoir, The Story of the Trapp Family Singers.
Mm-hmm. And apparently it wasn't the big love story like the movie had made it out to be. It was after Maria goes there from the Abbey, she wanted to go back and eventually finish being a nun because that's what she was passionate about. But she fell in love with the kids, and she said that the best way for her to stay in their lives permanently was to marry the captain. So that's what she did, and then I guess she ended up falling in love with him like over time. But it wasn't as like a fantastical love story as the movie made it out to be. But
yeah, for a story, again, to dress it up and make it like a fun story, I guess that's like more necessary. It's crazy though that she would feel that strongly about this group of kids that she feels like she needs to be following them.
Yeah, I think that it has to be like a psychological thing. Like she helped them. Mm-hmm. Like and she felt like she filled the void that they were missing, and that probably made.
Yeah. There's something about the movie though that it is so kind of like screwball comedy in the beginning of it that there's a lot of like the emotional connection to it that you would see. Oh, they introduce themselves as being like, I'm incorrigible and stuff like that, and like they've been told their whole life.
She sits on a pine cone.
Yeah, they've been told that they're hopeless and all this shit, so they start to believe that she helps them. And so it's like you see that, but you don't have an emotional impact because it's just silly and stuff, Mm-hmm. Julie Andrews though also fucking killing it right then. Mm-hmm. She was coming off of Mary Poppins.
Super hot.
Had not come out yet, and they were able to snag her before the movie came out. They like made it a point to be like, we got to get her right now before she becomes too popular. They saw like some of the footage. She was, I didn't read this. Let me go ahead and I wrote down the synopsis for the movie just in case people don't know. Okay. Julie Andrews is Maria, the spirited young woman who leaves the convent and becomes a governess to the seven unruly charm and songs. To seven unruly charm. I guess I copied this directly. So.
Okay.
The seven unruly Von Trapp children. I'm going to go ahead and assume. Charm and song soon win the hearts of the children and their father. But when Nazi Germany unites with Austria, Maria is forced to attempt a daring escape with her new family. Yeah, it's a long movie. There's an intermission in it, which you don't see too often in movies.
Yeah.
It's not like crazy long for that to be necessary. 2 hours, 52 minutes. Yeah, this synopsis tells you she's like going to escape with them and stuff. But again, I guess if you know it's a real story, you're not surprised.
Yeah, it's true. The opening weekend was $438,000. And then the gross was $159 million.
Yeah, off of a $8.2 million budget.
Dang, killing it.
Yeah, pretty good. People were going and seeing this. It was the highest grossing film of all time at the time. It was beating Gone with the Wind and held the title for 5 years.
Until Gone with the Wind beat it out again, right?
Oh, is that so? I didn't see
think
what.
so, yeah.
I didn't. It didn't say what beat it, and I didn't look it up because I didn't want to know.
Yeah, I think the remake of Gone with the Wind in like 71 or something.
Oh,
beat
wow.
it out.
This won the Oscar for Best Picture, Director, Sound, Film Editing, and Music, as well as being nominated for Lead and Supporting Actress, Cinematography, Art Direction, Costume Design. Also won like Golden Globes and Director and Writer Guild Awards. Just swept everything.
Yeah.
People love this. It was very critically acclaimed. And, other than that, I mean, so many songs that are so iconic.
Mm-hmm.
And, and also not being super familiar with the movie, but going like, oh, this is from this, Same thing with like Fiddler on the Roof. There are a handful of musicals that have just bled into everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are things that I've like quoted that I guess I didn't even know were from this, like how do you solve a problem like Maria, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then a lot of early Family Guy references.
Yeah. Then they did that whole good like spoof of it. They'll do like spoof of movies.
Yeah, like in like the early days of Family Guy, there would just be 30 seconds of Stewie in costume as one of the characters in the whole movie. And there was no joke. It was just watching him, and like one of them was him running down to the house, and he's talking about confidence.
Oh,
I
yeah,
got
yeah.
confidence in me. And that was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's what this is from. And there were a couple other times. There were like one or two, like Rolf at the end, like the nun having Rolf's head.
Yeah.
It's, because they have the breaks and stuff. Again, I think it's not super referenced anymore. You don't really hear the songs too often.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a commercial that was on like the last year or two that was these are a few of my favorite things, like that.
I think that's the most iconic song. Because if you don't know this movie, then you've probably heard that song.
Yeah, that's
before.
something I didn't know was from this movie for years.
Yeah. I remember hating the boy, like the crush, the girl's crush.
Rolf,
Get his name,
yeah.
Ralph. Yeah, I remember hating him as a kid. Like, you betrayed them. No.
Yeah, it was a bummer. I didn't expect that to happen. One thing that did trip me out about the dad was I read a little thing that was the oldest daughter. She was playing 16, going on 17, famously. She was 22 at the time of filming.
I think you can tell.
Yeah, she looked a lot older than she's supposed to be. She had a crush on Christopher Plummer, who was 35, and he said, like, yeah, I thought she was cute too, but nothing happened. It was like, they weren't that big of a difference.
Yeah, but back then maybe it was different.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. But I thought that was interesting.
Now that would be a normal thing.
Yeah. It's like weird that she's playing the daughter is what's so weird about it. Well, that's it for this movie.
What are you going to give it out of 1965 nun hats?
Habits. I would give this one...
I said nun hats.
They're called habits. Let's see. Out of 1965, I would give this one, I don't know, like 1,400. That feels a little low. I mean, it wasn't super fun for me to watch, but I did, there was a lot of enjoyable stuff, cool locations, shots, and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Like when she's in the first scenes, when she's dancing in the hills.
Yeah, those are definitely good.
Yeah, I'm going to give it I'll give it a 1450. I'm nostalgic for me. I like that movie. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's obviously regarded very well at the time, and it's held up. It's a classic still, so people liked it. Okay, so I just got a couple other movies that were sort of big this year that were classics that have held on. See if you have seen any of these. Dr. Zhivago. I've never seen it. It's just one that I've always heard of. Thunderball. I have seen. It's a James Bond movie. Help, the Beatles movie. I haven't seen that one, actually.
I don't think I've seen that one either.
For a Few Dollars More.
I've seen that one.
I have not seen it. Repulsion is one that I've been meaning to watch and never seen. Here was the interesting stuff. Two things that were very popular this year. One were movies featuring the word cat in the title. We had That Darn Cat, Cat Ballou, What's New Pussycat, and Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill, all came out this year. As well as Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine, How to Stuff a Wild Bikini, Beach Blanket Bingo, The Girls on the Beach, Up from the Beach, and Wild on the Beach. So beaches and cats were very big this year for movies.
Is that from the song from the movie? The Pussycat song?
Whoa,
Whoa,
What's New Pussycat?
Yeah.
Probably. Tom Jones was like new this year.
Well, yeah, because that song came out this year too.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
At least it was in the charts. Maybe so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was like his first year that he came out, that was sort of shocking to me to go back for a second on the music and this movie. Tom Jones somehow felt like weirdly newer than everything else that was on the list and stuff, even though like a lot of the stuff I listened to and like I'm familiar with. Knowing Tom Jones was around in the 60s felt like he feels like he should have been from the 70s, maybe even 80s. Like, no, 80s feels so new, but like, I don't know, it just seemed weird. I didn't know he was like
that old.
yeah, from the mid 60s especially was like kind of shocking to me.
Well, because then you make it think, it's like, well, that means they were probably doing this in the 50s, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you have to start, if you're making it in the mid 60s,
sure.
then you had to at least been.
Yeah, I guess it's like,
know?
because he was still on TV. Like, I remember seeing him on like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and stuff when I was a kid. And so it was like, I didn't think of him as being that old. Like, he was like, yeah, he's not like Frank Sinatra or Elvis or something. You know? So they were also around, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all I got for movies, and I think I'm ready to move on.
I got a fun little thing before we wrap things up. Since we went back so far this year, I thought I would look up some of the celebrities that were born this year. So the first couple here is Charlie Sheen.
Ooh, winning.
Brooke Shields.
Oh, okay. They seem like they were friends back in the day.
Chris Rock, which I did not realize he was that old.
Yeah, so all these people are 60 years old now.
Yeah.
It's shocking. All of them actually being 60. Like, it's pretty crazy to me. The first two, I guess it's like, man, I guess, yeah, I suppose those people really are 60, but Chris Rock is really shocking.
Yeah, that's weird to me. Robert Downey Jr., Ben Stiller, Sarah Jessica Parker. I could see that.
Shania Twain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, The Undertaker.
Martin Lawrence.
You know, The Undertaker somehow feels like he's kind of also been 60 for forever in a weird way. Like, he's always looked really old. Mads Mikkelsen, that's sort of shocking to me as well. I don't know if you said Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence.
Oh, Shawn Michaels. I guess a lot of wrestlers were being born at this time. Brandon Lee.
Dr. Drake.
Oh, John C. Reilly. David Tell.
So, yeah, I thought it was
There are some people who seem older and some who seem younger than I would imagine.
Yeah. But, yeah, now we're getting into the older years where it's like these people are getting up there in age.
Yeah, I think, honestly, it is interesting, though, that these people feel way more contemporary than I thought. I know these are like, they're starting to be, I guess, if anything, it just shows like this is the age of people who are old now. I mean, not to be rude to them or whatever, but it's
you
like,
guys are seniors. You're 55 and up. You're old.
Yeah, I mean, to be 60 and like, yeah, that's somebody who's like, if they are relevant at all, it's like, oh yeah, Martin Lawrence, he's an OG. It's not like he's, somebody who's coming in like, what's he got to say? I can't wait to hear his opinion on this, Well, crazy stuff, putting perspective on things. That's what this whole podcast is about. It's putting perspective on things. I mean, when you listen to something and you go like, damn, that came out in 65, that song or whatever, and you're like, damn, what else was going on that year? You're like, man, Subway sandwiches? People hadn't had that until 1965.
SpaghettiOs, what?
Yeah, SpaghettiOs. I mean, what? Gross. What's new, Pussycat? Papa's got a brand new bag. Yeah, I don't know. This was a cool year. It's definitely one that I think specifically when you look at like the music of this year, it feels so, I don't know, like all of the hits, all the big songs felt like what you expect them to, and they're good. Like they're mostly all good. They're not a bunch of trashy music on there. A lot of time you look back and you go, yeah, there was a brand of music that was popular that was kind of whatever, or was being like maybe the couple years prior, like something had come out and everybody was trying to do that and doing a poor job of it or something,
Yeah.
But, I mean, really, it's like this was, you mentioned earlier, I keep going back to it, like pop culture in general was so fresh and new that finding stuff that was worth showing, that was still worth putting effort into. They didn't just throw shit at the wall and see what stuck. It was, they found interesting stuff.
It was like competitive.
Yeah. Cream had to rise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of cream all over this year. Well, let's see. Before we go, our last duty as time-traveling little bitches that we are is to... Just got really filthy right at the end. We're going to get out of the stodgy 60s. We're going to go ahead and jump back to a different year, but before we get through with this one, we can only pick one thing each to save. Everything else is stricken from the record. What was your favorite thing? What are you saving from 1965 to carry on into the future?
I'm going to say Tom and Jerry going on television. One of my favorite shows growing up.
I think about that a lot more recently, just like how the 60s cartoons and stuff did play such a big part in my childhood. And that, like, SpongeBob is that old now, and kids feel that way about SpongeBob. That's an old classic cartoon. I'm like, it's from my childhood. That's not that old, but it is, it is now. And so, yeah, I definitely feel like Tom and Jerry is something that was so a part of my life. And yeah, I realize now it's not that big anymore. People don't really know. It's not really that much of a reason. I mean, there was the movie with Chloe Grace Moretz a couple years ago, but they're still recognized. They're not fading away. But like the Jetsons is something I thought, like, how do kids know what that is anymore? Probably not.
Probably not.
So that's a good one. Mine was similar. Guess I'm just gonna stick with what I was picking already. But we're both picking cartoons. I'm picking the Peanuts Christmas Special.
That's a good one.
It's really great. I revisit that not every year, but most years I will go back and check that one out. It's a great little cartoon.
I like most of the Peanut stuff that comes out. It's all very like wholesome and classic.
Well, it's a lot of fun. 1965. I had a grand old time living in this year. It was much different than today, and I think that's the fun thing when you look in. I mean, it's cool to see what's similar, but seeing something that is so different is a lot of.
Especially in the world we live in today.
Yeah, well,
60 years later.
Yeah, and the things that were similar were unfortunate, to say the least. But we are going to go ahead and dive face first into a new year for the next week and do our little heart's content worth of research. Until we get to do that, we have to spend time in today's society, which sucks.
Lame.
I know.
So you know what I'm going to do until then.
The whole time that I'm walking around living in today's day and age, I'm going to be thinking to myself, I wish we were then.